somewhere in there.
Good morning, Dan. Dan
Good morning,
Gutierrez.
morning, Marty. How are you today?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm I'm participating well, and I'm excited to have that awareness.
Great. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to this version of the Intentional Living podcast with my colleague, friend, ally, and all-around good guy, Dan Gutierrez, and both of us here in Sacramento, California. And we're recording this on May Day, the first day of May. And the theme of our Intentional Living podcast here is based on a saying that was attributed to Socrates, the great Greek philosopher, who said, "The secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." And in our last podcast that I recorded with John Donovan, our mentor and guy who taught us this intentional living process, we spent some time talking about the new. We talk about what are we doing this for? What are we in this recovery work for intentional living? Because it's not easy. And those of us that we're just starting out here, it's there's a lot of challenges that we start to find and difficulties and that I don't know about you, Dan, but when I first started this, there was those voices in the head that were so critical of myself were um, they became more obvious when we started out. So, it's difficult. It's a challenge for us to stick together. That's why we do this in group. Um,
Right.
but there's rewards for this, and I think you have some thoughts based on your current experience about the value of doing this recovery work.
Yeah, I do. I look. I have the ability, or not the ability. I have the luxury of having lived a long life at this point, uh, and I can see where I've been and where I came from and where I am now. And when I recognized, or when I started doing this work, the
Which was
recovery
how long
work,
ago?
oh geez, 20 years at least.
Yeah.
Um, that was my first. I got exposed to intentional living 20 years ago, um, and I had no idea where where this practice would lead. Um, in the beginning, I just wanted to stop my negative behavior, figure out why I was an addict. Um, had to somehow get some control over my life, um, and I didn't know how to do that. Um, and 20 years later, um, it's like a 401k plan. You keep putting in, you keep putting in, you keep putting in, and then when you retire or whatever, you have this nest egg that it'll help carry you through your retirement, support you in your retirement. Um, and that's what I'm discovering, that recovery is like that for me. Um, for the last 20 years, I've been putting into my recovery fund, and every now and then I have to call upon that fund of awareness, tools, and because we all have situations in our lives that are challenging, and that uh, the alarm bell rings, and all my training gets to come online. Maybe not instantaneously, but uh, it shows up, and I find myself in a different headspace. Um, my thinking is clear. Um, I know what I can evaluate things rather than look like the Keystone Cops, everybody running in all directions and nobody solving any of the problems. I didn't know when I started that my intention to love and approve of myself would look like it is today. Um, I didn't know what those intentions were going to do, but I set those intentions, and now I could see the benefits of it. Somebody might say, "Well, it took you 20 years to get there," and it's like that may be, the part where I don't get to see my recovery in action. Other people get to see, uh, where I came from, how I'm different. And me, it seems like it's just me because I'm living it from day to day, and I don't necessarily see the changes until I have a moment, and it's like, man, this is different. I'm wanting to go from destroying the world to, hey, wait a minute here. We don't have to destroy anything. We have different options. Number one, we need to, when I say we, it's me, myself, and I, and all the inner children, and we need to all sit down and talk about this. Okay, all right. What do we need to do? First of all, and it's like, all right, and that calms me down. I have a plan instead of I'm staying calm and I'm actually thinking rationally. What do I need to do first? How this is going to work? And I'm feeling, I'm feeling happy and excited, and my challenges are still there, um, but they're not insurmountable, and that's different for me. I now have tools that I can chip away at the goal, and my deadlines used to be yesterday. Now I extend the deadlines to a realistic, in 30 days, this is what we're going to need to be done. So we got 30 days because you can't do everything, you need to do within a week. Um, okay, so we give ourselves 30 days. And this is, and in the process, that's how it shows up. But it doesn't show up with a red flag and I go, this is your recovery here. Pay attention. This is what you've been working for until afterwards. Or you have a challenge and then you meet the challenge and then it's like, wow, 10 years ago, this would have been a, deal breaker. I would have gone off the rails here. I would have acted irrationally. Uh, and instead, I'm having my challenges and I'm talking about them on a podcast, which is not go to your room and figure it out. It's it's share your story, listen to your story, um, and own it. Right? Give yourself credit here. You created this with the intentional living, the accountability tree, with the support of others, um, and with my hard work, my dedication. Um, I've never focused on a goal 20 years in my life. Um, a willing goal, a choice that I've made to do something, not for monetary rewards or yeah, there isn't, there's no guarantee. It's not like you do the work and you get paid uh, on a weekly basis. It seems like you do the work for years and then one day there's a payoff, um, or perception of on one day there's a payoff. But I am getting paid each day. When I can be accountable for my violence, when I can be accountable for my behavior, my thoughts, um, own them, feel the fear, create the new intentions. That uh, that takes effort and work, and I need to give myself credit for it. Versus in the past, oh, anybody could do it. It's no big deal. If I can do it, anybody can. And you know,
Or I'm just lucky.
yeah, um, the universe is looking out for me. I don't know, whatever it is. But yeah, that's different because I've never wanted to take credit for anything I do. I always, don't take credit for anything because that's not being humble. And you don't want to make other people feel bad by tooting your own horn. It's like, how'd that work for me? It 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 kept me stuck.
Yeah, because that's all a form of self-abandonment. And that's what we're dealing with is we felt that sense of abandonment as little kids. It shows up as psychological unhealed trauma, and we just replicate the cycle. We just keep doing the same thing. So we felt abandonment from parental figures, mom and dad. We adopted the process and turned it on ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so what's different?
The difference is I don't know if well, I'm going to share it anyway. I'm laying in bed with my partner, and I wake up and I look over at her, and I go, how did I get here? How did I get here? Why in the hell does she like me? What? No. So that's the word that comes out. Why does she like me? And then I go, no. Why does she love me? And the old paradigm was, I don't understand why anybody likes me or anybody would love me. And then the voice comes, internal voice goes, it's because you're honest, you're reliable, you're safe, you're kind, you're generous, um, you're accountable, you're loyal, you're trustworthy. And it was amazing because I'm
Don't
now
forget,
no, not
don't forget humorous.
humorous, okay? And I was no longer in the I was no I became the observer of what was happening, you know,
Right.
and I go, this is different. I go, this is the first time in my life I have an answer for that question, why people love me or like me. And I after I went through that explanation and I go, and I'm not triggered by it. I can say these things and not have this, I'm doing something wrong, or this is not what that energy. And I go, wow, this is what it means to love and approve of yourself, to know who you are and own who you are.
So
And
for
and
so for the newcomer, I'd just like to point out that what you're saying is you through doing this work, you've shifted from self-abandonment to self-embrace, self-love, self-befriending. And uh, those of you who are maybe listening for the first time or the first couple of times, please notice that the language that Dan's used to discuss things. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about what it was like for me as well when I began this work, and that automatic self-criticism. Who do you think you are? Same question. Why would anybody hang around with me? Why do people like me? They're just doing it to get something out of me. That kind of energy, and then to shift over time to a sense of, because what I also heard was a sense of self-security, self-comfort, self-approval in what you were just sharing. To be able to move from that old energy 20 years ago to this new energy is remarkable. It's a remarkable feat of, we call that recovery. There might be other words for it. Um, and yet we go through this, and do problems disappear?
No.
So what's different with respect to how we live our lives, how you live your life with the same challenges of life, put food on the table, be in a working relationship, a loving relationship, dealing with elderly parents, all those kinds of things.
Um, what well what I've discovered now is that just like anything that I've ever learned or decided to learn, um, you know, I don't know what kind of degree you get for spending 20 years working on yourself. Do you get a PhD, PhD, PhD?
I was going to
But
say we get an MS, Master of Self.
yeah. Um, and it's now I understand. I have an awareness of who I am and how I function through accountability, which is the key to knowing yourself. I've discovered, my responses, what triggers me, uh, what I'm good at, uh, my belief system, all these things come into play. And now, through this process, I'm able to watch what's happening with detached discernment. I give myself permission to panic. I give myself permission to feel resentful. Um, give myself permission to, why me? You know, this is not fair. And it's like, okay, uh, you know, feel it. What do you want to? How do you want to respond? And let's do that. I intend to love and approve of myself. Um, I intend to embrace everything about me. Um, everybody has a spot on the team. Nobody's going to get kicked off. There's nothing wrong. All those things I've done thousands and thousands of times. So developing the ability to have those tools and have a focus in my life and own my accomplishments. Um, and yeah, it's like, man, this is different. I like this. I like the ability to do this. And yeah, it's hard to describe literally. I'm struggling with trying to describe the difference from where I was to where I am now. I just have a huge amount of compassion. Um, it's like watching a beginner, somebody who's trying to learn a trade, and for the first, I don't know, 6 months, they don't have all the tools, literally the tools in their tool belt to do the job. Instead of a chisel, they have a flat blade screwdriver. So they use the screwdriver as a chisel, and then it damages the tool, so now they can't use it as a screwdriver. Um, now the old saying is a good craftsman never blames his tools. I see myself as a craftsman now with a tool set that I've mastered to use, so I can create uh, not a work of art as an artist, but my creation is my life, and I get to choose what color or what flavors of life that I want. I could choose to have acceptance, compassion, um, and it makes my life rich. And I'm very grateful for So this is how my recovery showed up last Tuesday. I was able to sit with my dad in his hospital bed and look at I could see the fear in his eyes. He didn't know what to do. All the people that he thought that he could trust in his life, um, the evidence was that he couldn't anymore, and he was scared. He didn't know what was going to happen to him. I was able to reach out, grab his hand, squeeze his hand, and I told him, "I got your back, Dad. I got this." And I started crying. And it's just the fact that I was able to hold my dad's hand, which is not something I've ever done. We never had that kind of relationship. But I'm realizing that I overcame that barrier to do that because I wanted to do that, because that was important to me in the moment. And I did it. And I allowed myself to cry and have that moment. That's what recovery gave me, is to be in that moment and connect the way I want to connect. That's recovery. That's the payoff for me, is to participate in my life the way I choose. And there was that fear of, don't do this, this is going to be uncomfortable. You don't know what he's going to do. And it's like, all right. And I'm going to grab his hand. I'm going to hold it. And then I'm going to tell him that I got your back, Dad. Don't worry. I got it. You can trust me.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to, yeah, that's the thing I wanted to point out for people who are just starting out here is that, and you just said it, the the old thoughts, the old fears don't go away, but we learn to build something new and more powerful to contain them. Not contain in a hold off kind of way, but more of an embrace, that you were able to sit there with that recognition that the appropriate thing I want to do here is reach out and hold my dad's hand and reassure him that he doesn't have to be afraid because I'm gonna help him. And at the same time, as you said, you notice those old things. Don't do that. But who knows all that stuff was still there, but it was no longer in charge.
Right.
There was this new truth about the life that you were choosing to live that was in charge, and that's really that those are the fruits of recovery, is to change, not to get rid of the old because we can't, but
No,
to befriend the old, to, like I said at the top of the podcast, to make these old energies and fears our allies rather than our enemies, because they all have, you haven't said this yet, but that's these old energies, fears have something to teach us if we learn to listen for the lesson. And that's part of what the intentional living process did for me as well as for you, is it taught me to, um, look for the lesson in the difficulty rather than just fight it and, um, go back to
right.
the old negative, not negative, I don't want to use that word, to go back to the earlier energies that, um, as we say in the laundry list for adult children of alcoholics, that were part of my addiction to excitement. And, it's like, okay, I, I notice I have an addiction to excitement here. What is that? What I want in this moment? And if
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, it may be. Part of what we've learned in our work is that there's nothing wrong with the way we are. There's
No,
nothing wrong with our addictions to excitement.
no.
They may interfere with our relationships, they may interfere with our jobs or whatever, but we can't shift it and change it until we're willing to just own it and give it
Right.
permission to be.
Be
I think
accountable.
that's the compassion that I heard you talk about, or that's part of that compassion that I heard you talk about a few minutes ago.
And for me, it's like I've also just, I've lived 65 years, and I have a history that I can look back and learn from, and that that the awareness that I had when I was laying in bed with my partner, and I answered the question, why do people love me, or why does she love me, and why do people, you know, here again, I don't even want to say people love me. I'm just going to say that out there. That's a stretch. People like me, okay, but love me, well, okay. Why people love me? I'm not going to die. Uh, and if it's true, and it's, I'm going to try to guide me down this road here. So those qualities were in me since the beginning.
Right.
Um, just like my family of origin stuff started in my family. So when they say recovery, uh, um, I'm going to change that word to rediscover. Rediscovery is that's the essence of who I've been my entire life. Because I see that person or that those qualities that they've run all the way through my life. And if that's true, that's what my parents, those qualities of reliability, accountability, loyal, trustworthy, those were some of the characteristics that my parents gave me, as well as the other characteristics that you know you're not good enough, you need to be better. Those things are as well. And in the moments like we just talked about having, that's who I am. And that moment, and this moment here, is me understanding and acknowledging that's who I've always been. And that's who I am authentically. And just like everyone, I've had to sell my soul to maintain attachment. And that becomes the priority in life. And then that's where all these other character defects show up from. So, what recovery or being in recovery, um,
Or
for me,
rediscovery.
rediscovery is who I am. That's what all this work has done is shown me that um, to remove the layers, uh, the armor, as it were, um, to peel back all these other things that I'm not, you know, um, to get to who I am, and then embrace that. Um, I think there's some famous psychologist. Somebody says, the the gift of life is to discover who you are. The greatest gift in life is something to discover who you are. And I firmly believe that. And the tools that I've learned along the way, being in the recovery, intentional living, accountability tree, um, has helped me peel those layers off and to see the inner, the essence of who I am and embrace it. And you know, gives me a sense of acceptance. Self-acceptance is the acceptance that I've wanted from others. Now I'm giving to myself, and I am worthy. I am lovable. Yeah, I am all these things, and that's what recovery or rediscovery has given me. Who I am is good enough, and now I can sit here and say that out loud without any. There's no energy going. Um, Stop! Don't say that.
It's not true.
It's not true. What are you saying? Who do you think you are?
Right.
Um, and that's been my life today is is the reward of participating in my recovery or being in that process. I never knew, or I had no clue. I mean, the wise man told us that a long time ago. He goes, you have no idea. And the answer was true because I can't imagine something that I don't have any experience of. And 20 years ago, to go, I want to be able to sit and be on a podcast and talk about my life. Um, that's what recovery is going to give me. It was,
You didn't have that then?
or the fact that I can sit here and have my eyes watering, and there's no wanting need to apologize for it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm crying, and it's like, and it's where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? And it's like, okay, it's coming from somewhere, and you've worked hard to get there, and can we accept that? And the answer is yes. I don't. This recovery has given me this. I've participated, and I'm getting paying dividends, and it's like, okay, that's good enough. Um, I'm good with that too. Yeah.
Well, that's good. We're going to have to leave it there because we've come to the end of our time together, and I appreciate your time. And for those of you watching who would like, if you'd like to have this experience of rediscovery for yourselves, we invite you to join our intentional living practice groups. We have four of them that meet at 4 different days a week at different times. Information as to the time, day, and the Zoom link, they're all on Zoom, will be at the end of the podcast. So we invite you to come join us. You can just observe if you want. Don't even have to turn your camera on if you don't want. Or you can dive in the deep end of the pool. Whatever way you want to participate is up to you. But we invite you to come and check it out for yourself and see if this avenue that worked for Dan and for me and our mentor John Donovan and many others might work for you. Please join us. So before we wrap it up, any last thoughts, Dan?
Um, uh, don't be afraid to, well, embrace your wildest dreams and ask for them.
And as we say in my church, this or something better.
Yeah, I'll support you in that.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Marty.
Have a great day.
I
Thanks,
will. You do the
everybody.
same.
Thank you.